Hey there, Alex Kidman here with my quick video review of this. It's not a picture frame as it might look like. It is in fact the Samsung Music Frame, a speaker, quite a large and heavy speaker as you can see here, designed to look like a picture frame. So it's kind of a companion to the existing Frame TVs that Samsung does. And the idea is largely that you would probably just wall mount it. I've not done that because this is a loaner from Samsung. And then display whatever 8x10 art you might like. But look, I've got to be honest here, this is a bit boring, Samsung. This is their default image, and ho-ho, yes, it's a record player, but I think I'm going to change this out. But this isn't a digital picture, that's not an LED screen you're looking at. I've actually got to physically change the picture, which is just a piece of paper there, out. So if I pop the front off with a little bit of force, then you'll see the speakers behind, and then I've just got to actually change this rather dull record player for something a bit more fitting. Bear with me for just 1 second. I think we can all agree that this is a massive, substantial improvement in art style. And look, okay, while that's a slightly silly example, you may not have 45s yourself hanging around, it will in fact take any 8x10 photo. And the whole idea here is that it's meant to be an inconspicuous speaker, either for wall mounting or as I have it here on a stand. This one's going back to Samsung, so I wasn't about to punch holes in my wall. Connects for power via a single silver cable, very much like the way Samsung's TVs do. And with minimal physical controls too. There's a multifunction button for switching between audio input modes at the side, volume, and then a microphone mute button, and that's pretty much a lot. The whole idea here is simplicity and not looking like a speaker. But of course this raises the question, well, is it any good and how hard is it to use? And what we're looking at here is basically support for nearly everything. Direct optical audio input, Wi-Fi connectivity via Samsung SmartThings, or Bluetooth 5.2 plus, Chromecast and Spotify Connect and AirPlay, basically nearly everything you could want to keep your music desires sated. It'll integrate with a Samsung TV as a stereo pair if you buy 2 of them, and if you've got a suitable Samsung smartphone to hand, and fair disclosure, I didn't, you can apparently also use NFC to tap and pair and immediately start playing music from any phone-based audio source. So it's quite flexible in terms of your audio input sources. I've mostly used it with Bluetooth for the period that I've had it. And look, honestly, my expectations here were not that high because I figured that the Music Frame was going to be all about the looks and much less about the audio quality. But I was rather pleasantly surprised because the output of the Music Frame is really rather good with a nice deep presentation. And of course, here we hit the classic problem with YouTube speaker reviews. I could play some non-copyrighted music through this, but what you'd actually hear is how my microphone picks up the audio coming out of the Music Frame, and that feels kind of pointless. And obviously, it'd also be dependent on the speakers that you've got on the other end. Basically, this delivers a nice rich, loud sound, sometimes over loud actually. That's my one big criticism, that it can quickly ramp up the volume, and when it does, sometimes the presentation goes out the door. At maximum volume, there's definitely a little bit distortion, so I'd suggest you keep it a bit lower than that to actually get more pleasant music. The real trick of the Music Frame is, of course, that it's not always going to be apparent to anyone entering a room where you've got it running that this is where the audio is coming from, as distinct from having an obvious speaker-shaped device somewhere. And look, testing this out on members of my family, yeah, that mostly worked. Some of them did pick up on the fact that this was where the audio was coming from, but they admitted that was much more because, hey, there's this new box thing sitting in the room. I've got it on the stand, so it's a bit more obvious. If you had it up on the wall, I think a lot of people are not necessarily going to notice, and that is very much the point here. So is it worth buying? Well, look, at $6.99 Australian, the Samsung Music Frame is a pricey proposition for a standalone speaker, and I've no doubt that you can and could get audio as good or better for a little less than this. However, 100%, that ain't what Samsung's shooting for here. This is a play for people looking at the overall decor of a room first and foremost, and then considering the soundscape that they want. And if you want speakers in your home with good quality that don't scream that they're speakers to all and sundry, then these could be just what you're looking for. And that's my take on the Samsung Music Frame, a pretty simple product, a pretty simple review. What do you think? Got any comments or thoughts? Hit me up in the comments section below, and as always, hit like, hit subscribe, and please consider becoming a sponsor through Patreon or Ko-Fi. Thanks a lot.